My name is Kwarantine Kortney, and this is your disease-free Devo. Good morning, internet friends. I hope that you are doing well this wonderful morning and that your week is coming along just excellently. I want to emphasize that regardless of who you are and where you are being prayed for as Aloma Church lifts up all the people of the world during this time of quarantine. We love you and we are praying the very best for you, and we want you to start your day off right by getting started looking into God's Word here in your next disease-free Devo. So everyone's been asking me, Kortney, how are you keeping such a great attitude during quarantine? I mean, you don't seem to be bothered by this one bit. What's your secret? And I always tell them, look, there's no big secret to my ability to maintain such a fantastic demeanor during all of this. It's simple. I just fix my eyes on Jesus and look for the good that he is doing, even in spite of the trouble that he is allowing. How many of you know that you can trust that the work God does is always for his glory and for your good, even when it doesn't seem like that? I mentioned in one of our last Devos that we always need to look at things with the end in mind. Regardless of what is happening now, we can recognize that we have an eternal promise in Jesus. But we also can be confident that Jesus is doing something in the right now that is for the good of his people. He is working good in you right now and always. Look at the perspective of James here in chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. He writes, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." James uses the language of an accountant who places certain resources into their appropriate places. He tells the believer not to count trials toward their natural account, do not count them as pain or frustration. But because of Christ, we should count trials to credit them as joy because of the fruit they will produce in the believer both right now and in the long term. With that in mind, it brings us to our latest viral vocabulary word. The word for the day is sanctification. Sanctification is when something is set apart as holy. And for Christians, we should think of sanctification as the process where God is making us more like Jesus, day by day, little by little, and we should face trials with this in mind. Think of it this way. Any athlete that wants to get better and see improvements in strength or speed or endurance knows that in order to see those kinds of gains, there's going to have to be some strenuous effort that goes into working out the required muscles. And while you may wake up sore in the morning the day after lifting, you can take joy in the aching because you know there will be a return on the investment of that struggle. James tells us that during times of trial, we can hope for a return as we remain in faith. We can know that faith in the midst of trial produces steadfastness, and that steadfastness will do a completing and perfecting work in the life of the Christian. It will make us stronger for the task of following Christ. So through all of this, if we will let him, God will do a supernatural work in us, making us better Christians and making us more of who he wants us to be, more of who we should be. What we are going through right now is a testing and refining time. We should be prayerful that we see it that way, and that when all of this is done and things get back to normal, we are never the same, but more grateful, loving, missional, obedient followers of Jesus Christ. Family, I'm praying that God uses this time to refine you, and that rather than focus on all of the negative aspects on what is happening around the world, that we will focus on learning what God is trying to teach us and make us into through this. Consider that today. Y'all have a great rest of your week. We love you. God bless, and stay germ-free.